If you're anything like me, you're not just a photographer, you're a camera enthusiast. That's a polite way of saying you love cameras. Maybe a little too much. Let me ask you something. Have you ever bought a camera, stoked about it, used it for a while, and then suddenly the excitement fades? You start getting bored. And before you know it, you're seeing another new camera and convincing yourself that you'll be able to make even better photos with that, and that will reignite your spark. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, well, that's me. I blame it on my ADHD brain, constantly chasing the next dopamine hit. I love the thrill of buying a new camera, the research, the comparison videos, endlessly watching YouTube reviews. It's all part of the fun. And then there's the anticipation and the excitement of placing the order. And finally, the postie guy arrives at your door. I impatiently rip through the packaging, slap on the lens, and wait for the batteries to charge whilst I watch countless videos rather than reading the manual. I'm a visual person. I've got no patience to read or comprehend black and white pictures with instructions so small you need a magnifying glass. But here's the thing about dopamine. It's fleeting. The initial high you get from buying a new camera or any new gadget, for that matter, doesn't last. The dopamine spike fades, and what's left? Sometimes it's a little bit of buyer's remorse, but more often than not, it's just a sense of, okay, what's next? This is especially true if you have ADHD, because our brains are wired differently. To seek out novelty, we crave that thrill that once we've experienced, and we're off looking for the next thing again. This need for novelty isn't just a quick fix, it's actually a key trait of ADHD. We're constantly seeking stimulation, and the new gear gives us that in droves. But here's the catch. This cycle can become a bit of a trap. Instead of mastering the gear we already have, we tend to get bored easily and we buy again. And let me tell you, that can get expensive fast. There's been many times when I've bought a camera, got bored of it, sold it, then bought it again. I remember this one time, I had just bought a camera that was absolutely the one. You know what I mean? Leica, I'm talking to you. It was everything I'd been looking for. Compact, great images, quality, with all the features that I needed. But then a few days later, I was browsing through eBay or Amazon, purely out of curiosity, of course, and I found myself drawn to another camera. Suddenly, the one I had didn't seem so perfect anymore. It was like my brain was playing tricks on me, convincing me that this new camera would somehow be better, that it would solve all the little issues I had. And that's when it hit me. It wasn't really about the camera that I was chasing. It was the feeling, the thrill, because when you get down to it, the camera I had was still amazing. I mean, most cameras these days are quite amazing. But I was so focused on what I didn't have, on what the next camera might bring me, that I forgot to appreciate what I already owned. So what do? How do we break out of this cycle? How do we stay content with the gear that we already have without constantly feeling like we're missing out on something better? Well, it's not that easy. And I'll be the first to admit it, that I'm still working on it. But I've picked up a few strategies that have helped me, and maybe they'll help you. My tip number one is to unsubscribe from all camera store newsletters. This is probably the simplest and most effective tip. Several times a week, I get bombarded with emails, special offers on new cameras, gear, new cameras that have already been released and for pre-order. Review this camera, look at this camera, Fuji's coming out with this, Nikon this, Canon this. And it's just very, very distracting. And of course, I seek that dopamine hit, and then I really want these new cameras. I keep thinking that they are going to change my photography and make it better, but they're not. They're not, because I'm back to square one. It's a vicious circle that I keep going through. I keep buying cameras again and again. Tip number 2, sell your old camera gear to fund new ones. If the urge to buy cameras is too great, at least reduce the financial burden by funding new purchases, by selling used camera gear that you're not going to, that's just sitting in the corner. Don't hoard your unused gear unless you're a collector. Tip number 3, trim your camera collection. I mean, if you're like me and guilty of not giving some of your recently bought cameras the love they deserve, and you just feel guilty that they're just sitting in the corner, and should you pick up that camera and shoot it because you just bought it recently, and you feel like there's too many choices. You've got to simplify your life. By simplifying your life, things will get easier, because you'll be able to choose to use a certain camera for a long period of time without feeling guilty that other cameras that you've bought and spent money on are not getting the love they deserve. Let me know in the comments how you're coping with your camera addiction, and whether you can relate to me in any way, and what sort of techniques you've used to stop buying yourself more cameras, or you've sort of managed to reduce the need to have so many cameras. I'd love to know. And also there's a similar video that I've done right here that you may enjoy on this topic, and other techniques that I've used to reduce my need to constantly buy new gear. Thanks for watching.